Hi everyone, I'm Bakht and I talk about books. I make bookish content. Happy New Year to everyone that's watching. And for the new year, and also for a while, something had been on my mind. What had been? I'd wanted to make a sort of mental health starter kit video, a sort of set of what I consider foundational principles which can really impact your quality of life and your mental health. Bear in mind that I'm not a mental health professional, and I'm not a therapist, and I'm also not a psych student or anything like that. But these are just things that I've learned and you know learned in my life. Anyways, quite recently, well, last year at any rate, I read these two books sort of in quick succession. One was Notes on a Nervous Planet by Matt Haig, and the other was Growing Pains Making Sense of Childhood, a Psychiatrist's Story by Mike Shooter. This one was complete nonsense, let me just say. It was complete gibberish. I don't even know if it's marketed as a self help book. Complete nonsense, that one. This one was very good. It was a set of case studies of this doctor's sort of child patients and dealing with child trauma, behavioral patterns that follow you throughout life and everything. I think I might even make a separate video just on this book. Let's start with what I think is a very basic sort of thing that's connected to everything in life, not just in my opinion, but also in truth, in fact. Anyway, so that's self-esteem. I would say start with asking yourself this simple question. Do you like yourself just the way you are? Not if you were richer or prettier or more popular, or if you had more achievements under your belt, or if you were, more educated, or just the way you are. Now, most people would answer no, and if they say yes, either that's a very small percentage or they're lying. So, that's a really big problem because we live in a sort of world in which obviously we have the internet and we have social media. So obviously we're sort of taught to hate ourselves because it's very good for business, and this is like a very commonplace thing. But I would say that if you had to start from somewhere, start with getting to know yourself, your likes, your dislikes. Try to figure out how much of that is connected with peer pressure and parental pressure. I mean, sometimes we're made to accept and like certain things which actually are not indicative of our personality simply because there's a lot of pressure behind it, a lot of cultural pressure at times. So, you can take an MBTI quiz. I'll leave a caption explaining that. Somebody recommended that to me some years ago and it was quite helpful. So really get to know yourself, I would say. Funnily enough, I grew up thinking that, people that could, sort of do, mathematical equations and, those people that you sometimes saw on TV back then, who could do like calculations in their head and stuff. I thought that, only those people are intelligent. That's the only form of intelligence that there is. And of course, I was wrong because there are many types of intelligence. There's emotional intelligence. Some people are artists, so you really have to find out your strengths in particular without comparing yourself to other people. And everybody knows that famous line by Albert Einstein, think about judging a fish by its ability to climb a tree and everything, which I think says a lot about our current school sort of system, and everybody being taught the same thing. And of course people are very different and it doesn't fit, and then people that don't sort of subscribe to that particular sort of benchmark of intelligence, they're just rooted out of the system. And it's not true, because many of them are in fact more gifted than some people who are academically very proficient. So you will find that a healthy self-esteem, and this doesn't happen overnight, don't expect it to, it's a journey that you take and efforts that you make for yourself. So a healthy self-esteem, you will see that it solves a lot of problems at your source. It solves a lot of problems at the source, because somebody that has a healthy self-esteem, somebody who's like, oh, I'm just the best thing since sliced bread, for example, they're never going to be affected by failure. They're not going to be fazed by failure. They're not going to care what anybody thinks. They're not going to be fazed by rejection, whether that's in the career, it's in your personal life or anything. So they're going to be a lot more resilient simply because they hold themselves in high esteem, which is actually what the word also means. Duh. And in fact, researchers now say, a lot of experts now say that even even good parenting is actually measured by how much self-esteem a child has. So definitely work on that. Just to recap, find out who you really are outside of people and their expectations, outside of what you've been taught. Find out who you really are, accept yourself for it, and think about what is the best way for you to grow. Don't accept anyone else's prescription for it, is what I would say. So definitely work on those things. We're coming to our second point now. Remember that I don't want this video to be a million years long, so everything is sort of condensed for that reason. So we're going to come to dealings with people. Now, of course, this is again a mammoth topic in itself, but I'm just going to go over a few things which have been very helpful in my own life and which I think are, really, really important core principles. The first thing I would say is that, of course, I think learn to be content by yourself, because you see people that are not happy alone, that are not happy with themselves, they're not happy by themselves or in solitude, if you will. They're never going to be happy with someone else, and they're going to always be giving more power than they should to other people. They're always going to be searching for validation. They're going to need the other person to make them feel good, to make them feel like they're worthwhile, simply because they don't believe it, themselves. Because if you're, for example, if you're spending a lot of time by yourself and you're just unhappy and all the time you're just thinking that, oh, I'm simply not good enough, and I'm not interesting and I've nothing to offer, you are going to project that energy whenever you actually are in a group of people, or you are with somebody, or you're in any kind of gathering. That's the same energy that you're going to bring there, and people pick up on it, trust me. And also, you will find that you gravitate to the wrong people for the wrong reasons, simply because, again, you need that validation, you need that sort of certificate, that mark of approval, that ticking of the box that, oh, if this person says I'm good enough, if I'm interesting, if I'm, worth this person's time, hence that means that I should think that as well. When you should be thinking that on your own, you should be thinking that you are worthwhile all by yourself. And this sort of concept that you need to learn to be happy by yourself, and you need to learn how to be happy alone. This is coming from someone, me, who's actually been fairly social her whole life, and because of my mother and my mother's wonderful training, I never had any problems just going up to people and talking to them or making friends. It was always quite easy for me to deal with people in that way, and I know that a lot of people struggle with shyness, but thankfully I never had that problem. But even then, I'm saying all of this because it's very important. It's very important, and I'm going to elaborate on that a bit further later on. So I would say that you need to sort of get this into your head that nobody is ever going to respect you more than you respect yourself. The price that you put on yourself, that's the price other people are going to put on you. With rare exceptions, there's always haters, but in general, you have to think of people as a warped sort of mirror. You see, people are a mirror that show you more or less what you believe. If you believe you're worthless, people will echo that sentiment. If you think that, oh, I'm so amazing, I have a voice, I'm confident, I am somebody that someone else might want to, talk to, and I'm worthy of somebody else's time, then people will also feel that, oh, maybe I need to give this person, more respect. Maybe I need to listen to this person, because that person is sort of projecting that kind of energy. The line that nobody is going to respect you more than you respect yourself, and nobody is going to love you more than you love yourself. I did paraphrase that from Toni Morrison. The other thing that I will suggest is that you do an inventory of the people in your life, sort of make a list of the people in your life. There's undoubtedly going to be a lot of toxic people in there, and some of them are harder to get rid of than others because they might be family members, they may in some cases be parents, they might be colleagues, or people that you've been friends with for so long, you simply don't know how to remove them from your life, but you've noticed that they bring a toxic energy and they're always bringing you down, or they're stopping you from pursuing your dreams. And but as far as possible, I would say that try to limit exposure to these people. If you can absolutely remove them from your life, that's great. You can't do 100% removal of them. I would say limit your exposure to them and limit your contact and communication with them as far as possible. Never get it into your head that, if I break my friendship up with, for example, these people or one person or two people, that's just it. Nobody else is ever gonna, tolerate me or put up with me or be my friend. The world is filled with literally billions of people, all right? Stop selling yourself short. Don't waste valuable emotional energy on people that don't want the best for you, that don't prop you up in any way. Also the other thing that I would like to say is that, when some people that are naturally sort of malevolent, or they're naturally kind of malicious or materialistic or jealous or self-serving, sort of deceitful, if they're just naturally like this and they've sort of exhibited this behavior and again and again and again, it means that this is in their nature. So they're not going to change. So the forgive and forget thing is great, but I would say that forgive for your own mental peace. Don't forgive to let the same toxic people back into your life. Intrinsic nature is something that is very difficult to change, and I think a lot of people are able to mask it. They're able to, over time, they understand that if they openly exhibit a lot of their, intrinsic personality traits, that it's going to drive people away. So they're able to mask it and hide it, but that doesn't mean that the material thing has changed. And to that effect, I would like to share a short story with you that somebody once told me. It's about a scorpion and a turtle. Maybe it's a story that many of you already know, but in case somebody doesn't, I'll just quickly tell you. So basically, a turtle is swimming in a lake, and a scorpion comes up to him and says, would you give me a ride, sort of give me a ride to the other side of the lake? And the turtle says no, because you'll sting me. Obviously, it's a scorpion. I mean, their reputation precedes them, let's just say. So, the scorpion says, of course, why would I sting you? If I sting you, we will both drown. So, obviously, I'm going to watch out for my self-interest. I'm not going to sting you, so just give me a ride. So he takes the scorpion onto his back, and they're making their way across the lake. And sort of halfway through, the scorpion stings him. And obviously for that reason, they're both going to drown now. So the turtle said, why did you sting me? We're both going to drown now. It was like literally, there's no logic behind it. And the scorpion replies, it was simply in my nature, And so the moral of the story is that some things are intrinsic, some things are in people's nature. It cannot change. So now we're going to come to point 3 of this starter kit. It is dealing with your past. A lot of people are not affected by events in the present, but by events that have already happened, maybe, traumatic events, the way they were treated, other suffering that they cannot forget, and that sort of translates into their present, and they just keep reliving that in a loop, and it really obviously makes them very unhappy and makes them suffer. And you have to understand the way the brain works. You see, every time something unpleasant or painful or harmful or traumatic happens, your brain sort of records it and creates a neural pattern. Because you see, you have to understand that one of the oldest and primary functions of the brain is to ensure survival of the organism. So it records this information, and every time it senses that something similar is happening, it kind of reactivates that connection. So that, to protect you, basically, it's a defensive thing. So the problem arises when too many of those harmful things have happened and over a long period of time. So what happens is that the brain is often able to reactivate the same neural pathway almost without accurate or adequate provocation, which means that the situation is actually not dangerous, but the brain still activates the same response. Because this is, one of the primary functions of the brain, you see this sort of thing also replicated, well, not replicated, it also exists in animals. If you've ever seen one of those diagrams, they used to be in those psychology textbooks of aversion therapy trials when they did. So what they used to do is that they used to put a piece of food in front of a rat or a mouse, right? And every time he sort of went towards the food, they would shock him. So after a while, they noticed that they had stopped shocking him, and the mouse still didn't gravitate towards the food. He didn't move towards, the crumbs or whatever they were. It's because, his brain had recorded that every time I do this, it's going to hurt me. So even a similar situation with the food being present, he's still not going towards it because he has that recorded response in his brain. And humans are very much like that, very much. So the advice that I would offer if you're struggling with, any event in your past or anything like that, is that you have to understand that the past is like a tape recording. It cannot change. It's kind of obviously fixed, right? All that you can change is how you feel about it and how you react to it. I think it is useful to try to process the past. You talk to somebody if you can, journal it out, sort of express it in art, sort of get it out of your system. Definitely get it out of your system and work it out, but after that you have to shut the doors on it. You can't have it open like a festering wound. You have to shut the doors on it. You have to kind of, you have to end that, basically. The other thing I would say is that, don't try to reconcile the past with who you are today. The information that you have today and the person that you've grown into, or perhaps, there could be any number of changes. There's a change in age, there could be a change in resources, there could be change, obviously, in cognitive capacity and learning. So whatever you know today is not what you knew in your past. So you cannot reconcile the two into some kind of, neat package with a bow. There's never going to be a reconciliation. You have to accept that. So it's like the Maya Angelou line, when you know better, do better. And yeah. My best friend, bless her heart, we were discussing something, and she's like, like life's like a deck of cards. Some of them have been dealt and they weren't any good, and a lot of people get, disappointed and disillusioned because of them. But there's a whole other part of the deck waiting, and you don't know what's on those cards, and you should, stick around to find out. And there could be something absolutely wonderful on them, and there will be, when you, because you see, everything that you're able to do in life, it starts from the mind. If your mental health is good, if you've worked on that, and then you'll be able to achieve things in life. You can't just sort of bypass this thing and just jump to the next. That's a very important thing. So, keep learning, don't give up hope, and most of all, don't let anyone else tell you who you are. Don't let anyone else tell you who you are, what you can or cannot do, what you can or cannot achieve. Other people, there are very few people who will build you up. Most of them, they will try to bring you down, and they'll try to pass on their own fears and limitations to you. But you see, that's the thing about limitations. They start with the mind, and work on your mental health, which all of us are doing. It's a journey. It's a road that you have to take. You will get where you want. You can have the life that you want. Don't give up hope, and don't let anyone else put you on that path either. So I leave you with that message of hope. And again, I would like to say, if I haven't said so already, I'm not a mental health professional. And Anyway, I would like to say that if you like this video, if you enjoyed it, if you're able to take anything away from it, you would maybe want to see more videos like this, which sort of deal with different aspects of mental health or self-esteem or anything like that. I would be more than happy to make them. Sound off in the comments below, and please take care of yourselves, be kind to yourself, and I care about all of my subscribers, and I want you all to realize your potential, and want you all to know what you mean to me. And so yeah, I'll see you soon. I'm going to be more regular now with videos. I'll see you soon. Take care of yourselves. Goodbye.